screen. There we go. Nope. Yes. Yes. Well, there we go. All right, welcome to today's meeting. We're going to be refining and drafting the strategies that we've been building out for the past couple of meetings. And I'm going to shoot this on over to Kyla so she can open us up.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all for joining us on this lovely Friday afternoon. Today, of course, we're going to review our ground rules, and then we're going to review the structure and community priorities for RVAgreen 2050. We're going to look at some of the other working group strategies, and then we will look at our strategies and refine those and apply the equity tool to it. Then we're going to do a little wrapping things up and discussing what's needed for the next meeting. As a review for our ground rules, please make sure we are being respectful and present, that we all participate, but no one dominates the conversation. Make sure you're additive and not repetitive. We're going to aim for consensus. So if you can live with it, we can move on. We're going to be open to new ideas. And if we're going to bring a problem, we also have to bring a solution. That is going to be very important today. Separate the people from the problem. And remember that if 7 seconds passes, we're going to move on. Back to you, Kendra.
Thanks for that, Kyla. So today, as I said before, this is kind of really a structure of how we've been doing this. And we're currently on the strategy part. We're going to be looking at the majority of what smarty actions that we really need to look at that will lead us towards our objectives in preparation for the engagement phase, which is going to start in April of this year. Let's see. All right, so just a quick overview of where we are. We are here through March. And so next month we start community engagement. It's really going to open up the strategies that we're building out right now so that we can have feedback from everyone in the city of Richmond and really see if we're hitting goals outside of what we've maybe looked at internally within the working groups in the roundtable, and that we're also hitting the goals that people from the public are really looking for throughout this planning process. And so just in an overview of how we've been doing this, we've had the inputs. Everyone, you were here for the technical information gathering. We had conversations on modeling and then risk assessment. We've also looked at our community priorities, GreenLink policy toolkit, and other examples from other cities, plus looking at Richmond 300 and ideas from other drafting objective meetings. And that's really put us in our preliminary checklist and looking at does it reduce greenhouse gas emissions or increase resilience to climate change. But we really want to also look at if the strategies that we have listed out are equitable and are they improving the quality of life for residents in the city of Richmond. So we had the strategies that came from there. They've gone through staff review. And so some of the ideas have been combined or we combined duplicated ideas where we moved some strategies around into the different working groups. We removed strategies that did not directly reduce greenhouse gas or increase resilience. And we identified where further information or refinement was needed or gaps and strategies that needed to be added. And so that led us to where we are today, where we're going to go over those strategies that are there using the SMARTY framework that we talked about through a variety of meetings, but we're really going to focus on strategic, ambitious, realistic, inclusive, and equitable through today. And we will come to measurable and time-bound later on after our engagement strategy. And then this is a bit different for our group. The city staff has had time to review the strategies. We will be refining their feedback on our strategies that we're looking at today, next meeting, but the roundtable will have review on Tuesday of all the strategies from all the working groups. So just a quick image or infographic to really lay out where we are. And so we're working specifically on refining and using the equity screening tool today. And then we have an additional process here in the community working group where we also will be looking at the strategies from the other working groups, the other 4 working groups that have been building out strategies as well. So that was where you signed up for which working group you were interested in participating in. We are all going to continue to focus on the community working group. So if you picked community as your first group, you were placed in your second choice group. And if you didn't fill out the survey, you were randomly put into a group at my will. And I hope that that works out well for everyone, because that's just how we will be moving forward with this meeting. And so in our next meeting, we will be reviewing all of the feedback from the city staff in the roundtable to really solidify what our strategies are going to be for the first phase, or for the second phase of engagement. And just a quick reminder, these are our community priorities. This is what a lot of the conversation that we will be having today will be based around. Are we hitting these priorities through our strategy development? Are we saying this in a way that resonates with the public, and especially the public that you may work directly with? You'll have much better insight on the wording of our strategies and how our strategies can impact residents than maybe some other people in the other working groups. And so that brings us to our first activity. As I said, we will be looking at the different strategies from the other working groups first. We are going to refine strategy language and look for equity. And then we're going to go through and determine level of comprehension to make sure that it is connected with what we think residents are interested in, and able in a way that they're able to relate to what we're trying to say. So here are the different breakouts. And so honestly, I need to go through this and put everyone in a room. So if are there any questions about our activity?
Well, while you're doing that, Kendra, I'll just say that if you are with Buildings and Energy, I believe you will be with Don. If you're in the environment group, you'll be with Brianne. If you're in transportation, you'll be with Wendy. And if you're in the waste group, you'll be with Kendra and myself.
That is all very true. And oh gosh, there we go. Seemingly, I feel like every time I try to do a breakout room, this takes a lot longer than I think it's going to. And I apologize for that, but I will do this as fast as I can.
Brianne, do you have another joke?
That's my only one. I'm all out for this week.
We should have saved it.
I have one.
All right,
A 16-year-old. Yeah. So, why did the bike fall over?
Because he was too tired.
You won. That came
That
from
was
my
a good one.
16-year-old. So congratulations.
I live in that world.
I have a quick question. So are we going to be looking at the spreadsheet for our work today, or are we going to be looking at a PowerPoint like we did the past few weeks?
We will be looking at a spreadsheet today.
Okay. So the one that's included in the Google invite?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you want me to add it to the chat?
Yes. Thank you. Oh gosh. All right, I got this all together. All right, so any other questions before I open the rooms? We are good to go.
How long do
Too late. Oh, that's not it. Oops. I just keep hitting the wrong buttons. I don't know what is happening to me today. Here we go. Okay, so I hope everyone had a great time in their working groups and that we really looked at these strategies and put a new lens on them. We will be moving into our equity screening tool for the community strategies in our next activity. And so here's just a quick review of our equity screening tool. We've definitely talked about this before and had a lot of revision in how we were going to use this and the ways that we want to go through each of the strategies to really check off which community priorities they're meeting. This is really great for our group because our objectives are based off of 3 community priorities. And so we're automatically hitting at least one for all of our strategies, hopefully. And so to really go through and look at that to make sure that we are doing that, but then also seeing if we're maybe hitting a different community priority throughout this process also, and how we are hitting that community priority. And if we're not hitting a community priority, what can we do to change that? So we're going to do a quick check through on community wealth, neighborhoods, housing and buildings, health and well-being as well. The way that a lot of the strategies are built out for our engagement, communication, racial equity and environmental justice, and government accountability. And so this link will be put in the chat to the equity screening tool for you to, and it was in the email and the calendar invite also, so some of you may already have it pulled up, but we will use this screening tool to evaluate the strategies in the next activity that we're going to be doing. And then here are the ones for racial equity and environmental justice. And so it's racial equity, environmental justice, engagement, communication, government accountability. And so the questions that you see here are just kind of what you would ask yourself moving through each of the strategies. And is it hitting that? If it doesn't hit this, can we make the strategy, rephrase the strategy so that it can hit some of these questions that we have here? And really just looking at what is the most equitable way we can rephrase this process. And so we're going to be looking at our strategies that we have been working on over the past couple of meetings to make sure they're strategic, ambitious, realistic, inclusive, and equitable. And so we really want to take what we have that may have been like an idea and restructure that so that we are doing something that is a strategic strategy. And then hopefully we want to really rephrase that so that it's ambitious, realistic, but then we're also thinking about how we can make it more inclusive and more equitable so that we can get this check plus throughout the process. And then once again, measurable and time bound, we'll be addressing later on in another meeting later on. And so what this is going to look like is that before we go on break, you're going to sign up for the objective that you want to work on. And our objectives are, once again, engagement, communication, government accountability, and climate resilience, basically, and making sure we have social resilience throughout this process. So we're going to go through, refine strategy language, go through the equity tool. And here is an example of the spreadsheet that we will be looking at. So you can see, I don't know if everyone can see my mouse. I'm assuming you can see my mouse. Anyway, in the left side of this spreadsheet where we have the second column with strategy, we're going to be looking at these different strategies here. And then we're really going to go through the comments in the next column to see what comments came from the previous meetings or comments that may have come from staff when we've gone through to revise some of the feedback we got from the meetings. And then there's an opportunity to rewrite the strategy if needed. And then as you move towards the right, you can see there's different columns for the different aspects of the equity screening tool. So in those ones, you will write down whether or not it's meeting that community priority, why it is or why it isn't, and then really work to revise the strategy once again if you feel like it can be reframed in a way to match up with the different community priorities that we've been looking at over the course of this process. So does everyone have the spreadsheet open? You can write your name in, let me change the settings. Yeah, you can write your name in the different columns for which objective you want to work on throughout this process. You can also say in the chat if you have a preference, and then we can put your name in the different columns as well.
Can you show the options again?
Yeah,
Where is it that we're supposed to write?
on slide 20.
Slide?
Oh, I don't think we received the link to the
Yeah,
PowerPoint.
we don't have slides.
There you go. And so our objectives are communications, accountability, or climate resilience. And then once you're done, we're on a 5-minute break, and you can come back to the Zoom room at 2:13.